So this is what I did for issue number 10. So the component I was building out is just the service component here. Typical grid layout we have. It's going to be under the hero element. Now let's get into the code. It's going to be the section here. There's the header for, or the heading I should say, for the H3 section. It has a paragraph. The paragraph, the main thing I did that was unique is that I do have the font tracking wider, which means there's more space between the items, just because that's what it had in the Figma. So, and for this, one important thing I did too is for this max width. So if we get like super huge, if I hadn't done that max width, it would just keep expanding. The squares would get gigantic and it would just look like a hot mess. So this is telling it this is the max width you can have. If you go out, don't get any bigger. This is just the grid telling it when it's small to go back. Accidentally clicked on it. When you make it small, only have one. When you get bigger, expand to 2. And then when you're on the larger screen, you can expand up to 3 grids there. So this is all the same information repeated again and again for the coding for the card. So I just made a component called card, put the data in there, then we code in one place, stick the little bits that change, and then voila, you have all the cards processed the same way. I'll come back to these later, but the important thing was the shadow none. Here I has a shadow by default for the card. I turned it off because we did not want that. So now first let me explain. This list of services was imported. So going up here, it says imported from the data folder. So that's going to be right here. So it is just an array of objects. So this is each of the categories we have for house cleaning, lawn and garden. So this is all information that if it's used in multiple places, so this way we can edit it here and it'll update everywhere that uses that data. Just keeping things a little bit more efficient, more dry. Let's jump to the card. This is the component that was made. So under the hood, it is a Hero UI component. I just wrapped it. I made a wrapper so I can pass it the object we need, the service object for each category. So for this, so this is a type of service. This is just saying, hey, this is, so these are just all strings, all these properties, these values are all strings. That's all this is saying here. So that's all just strings. That's just saying it's just an object of key value pairs that are all strings. And then this card props is the next thing to understand. This was actually from Hero UI. I imported their type. If you're wondering how I figured that out, I hovered over card. You press Control, then you click it. And then here I saw, okay, it's using card props. So I imported it there. Oh, let's go back here. And so what this does, it allows it to understand that it has card props and understands how the service object is laid out. So this is all the typing. Down here it's just saying, telling it, okay, this is the types you have a bill for both of these. So we have the service. So each object here, these are all service objects. So each one has this layout again. That's all it's saying. So service, each service object, you have this layout. That's all it's saying. And then card props are extended because there's a ton of card props. It doesn't make sense to go through each of these individual, add them. There's 289 of them, actually more than that. So we're just going to expand it out, keep things nice and easy. And then down here for card, just expand out the props so card remembers what props it can use. ESLint doesn't like that, so I just put that there. We might eventually decide to disable that rule altogether, but for now I'm just disabling it for that one section. So as you saw when I accidentally clicked on it earlier, it will take you to a different web page. If you look on the left-hand corner, you will see a link to localhost for house cleaning. So this is the link for href. So if you're not familiar with Next.js too much, the link up here, what's handy about this is that it will prefetch this link in the background. So it's already loaded, so it'll be fast when it does load. And it doesn't reload the page when you change to a different page on the website. So it just keeps things much more efficient, really helps the performance and experience for users. Now going into the weeds a bit more. So let's explain this part here. So this aspect, this is what's making them all take a square shape. If I was to do, for example, 1 and 2, it's going to be like a weird little rectangle. Yeah, as you can see, weird rectangle. Let's go change that back. Okay. So this is the header here, and then inside of it is going to be a next image. You can import for next. So the important thing for next here is that I'm telling it to fill. Fill under the hood is absolute positioning, so it needs something relative to know what it's being absolutely positioned relative to. What this will do is it's saying, hey, image, fill the entire size of your parent up here. So it's relative. So you notice here how you see all the text down there? If I get rid of this relative, it's going to go to its next relative parent, which would be the whole card, which isn't what you want. We just want this header section to have the image cover it. And object cover just means if there's not enough space for the image, don't stretch it weirdly, just cut off whatever you need to make it fit. Rounded, of course, for the rounded edges. And this next one is key for this hover property. So what this does is the absolute insert 0. It's going to tell it, go to your closest relative parent, which again is this, the card header that we have here. So it's not the whole card, it's just this. And when you hear that thing that has the group property, which is this is like a button. When this is hovered over the whole card, then turn this on so we see the background blue at 50%. It starts off at 0, so it's invisible, but when it's hovered over, we will see it. So the important thing to this is that it's, even if you're down here, you're not hovering on the image, but it's still hovering the image because it's the hover property is in relation to the whole entire card because of the group. So it's looking for the group for the trigger, but then to figure out where it's actually applying to, it looks for relative. So it can be a little bit tricky to wrap your head around if you're a bit newer to that. And that's the key to that. For this, I had to get a little funky with the service price. So you see here how for most time it's going to be pretty big. But there's one size I noticed it looked really funky if it was big. So this one, it would look gigantic if they were all still at same size. For that fixed screen size, I went ahead and made them be smaller. So you get big, they're big again. So just one of those responsive things to watch out for. And for this, one thing I did is I went to Tailwind CSS, since we'll be reusing these gray colors all the time. I went into here and I made a specialized property, primary font color, and this is a dark gray. This is a light gray. That way, if we do decide to change it later, just change it in one place and it updates everywhere that we need it to. One quick thing I forgot to mention is how I got this to position on top of the image. If you're not familiar with it, that's the key to these Z elements here. So it's going to look and see, this is Z300, so it's going to be on top of the image because it has higher priority. The bigger the number, the higher the priority. Down here, this one is going to be Z40, so it has even higher priority than this. So even when this is blue, the span, the service price, is still going to be above it.